Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of Teach, Sleep, Repeat. My name is Dylan.
And my name is Hayden.
And it feels like forever since it's just been us two sat here doing this.
It's because it has been forever.
It has been. What have you been doing, you selfish man?
Oh, moving house.
Moving house again.
Just kidding, of course. I have had a baby, so...
Oh my God, stop going on about it. Is this what I was like? Is this what I was like when I went on about
do you remember when I made a joke about, oh look, everything you've got on there is about Rory?
Yeah. Couldn't care less.
Yeah.
Could not care less at this point.
So that's my week done then. Yeah.
Anyway, hello listeners. Thank you for being so patient. Thank you for listening to our little bite-sized episodes, for our amazing interview with Jane Constantine. And I keep getting Constantine or Constantine right. If you're listening, I'm sorry. It's one of them. And Heather, right? Reading Rocks.
Ever wrong?
Oh, that's good banter.
Classic
no, they were
joke.
lovely.
I'll tell you what, I'm not going to do it right now, but...
Yeah, this is what I was going to say.
I'm going to say big thanks because we've received a package today.
Whoa.
From Heather from Reading Rocks. I'm going to open this a bit later on. If you're watching the podcast... We'll do a little Instagram reel, opening up the little goodies inside. Thank you very much, Heather. Brilliant.
So that's going to get some engagement. Instagram's popping off still. Love it.
Yeah, no, go on. Talk about your memes.
No, that's all. We're just making some memes, guys. If you love memes, get onto Instagram. We love memes, and we finally decided to start making some memes. And I can't believe one of the memes, it's just this dog doing the most stupid laugh in the world.
Not even good.
All I did was at the top just put, when you teach a friend, say teaching's easy. And it's a dog going, 1.2 million views.
And people are like, oh my God, it's the funniest thing I've ever seen.
And it is. It is. Don't rip the customers, B.
No, I'm not. I've never ripped the customers.
Like over 1,000 followers.
Do you reckon it's been long enough now that when we say customers, people are like, why do they keep calling us customers?
Kind of, but...
Episode 1?
I've also had messages within the last week or so from 3 different people who've self-referenced themselves as customers.
Oh, good. Yeah. Well, thank you to our customers. Keep listening. You can buy absolutely nothing from our merch store that doesn't exist. But
one day, we're going to set up, right, a merch store for like 2 days. We'll make 5 sales and that'll be the end of it.
Then we've got real customers.
Anyway, thank you for listening as always. Hopefully you're ready for a nice little chat. Hayden, we're going to talk about our week because I remember when I got to come into the podcast after Rory was born, it was my time to vent and say things that I just wanted to get out there. So this is your chance, Hayden. How have your last 2 or 3 weeks been?
Well, I don't think I'm quite as delusional as you.
I don't think you are either.
You were, you'd like lost it.
I know. Well, here's the thing. I did a lot for my partner, so...
I found it quite easy. I've been sleeping every night. I put earplugs in. In fact, I go next door most days. No, I tell you what has been helpful, and I've said it before, but listening to your ramblings and your experiences did help us because it was kind of like, well, I can probably skip a few of these things now.
I'm the test animal.
And you're the test animal. Yeah. Maybe not make some of the mistakes you made. Yeah. I wouldn't have made them in the first. I wouldn't have made them.
Ooh, mistakes. That's biting, isn't it? That's biting. Anyway, how's it been though? How are you feeling? Because it's bloody tough, right?
Oh mate, it's the first few days. I was like, oh, this is the biggest mistake I've ever made in my life. During the night times, because I was like, I can't sleep in the hospital. That was only a fleeting moment of thought, because when I see her and I'm cuddling her, oh man, it's
unreal.
I'm already getting taken the mick out of by my family because I just can't leave her alone. I can't stop like picking her up and giving her kisses and cuddles.
You thought I was weird for saying I was going to be kissing Rory and my child.
I know. I was just like, no. I really didn't think I'd enjoy the newborn stage at all though. I know we briefly mentioned this, but I really, really struggled. Yeah. On the kind of like the weeks leading up to birth, where I'm sort of putting on this front of like, are you excited? I'm supposed to be nothing but this feeling, and I'm not, because I'm just nervous that I'm actually not going to enjoy it at all, and I'm going to be in that massive statistic of parents whose regret is having kids.
But you don't hear about it. And it's good that even though you might have turned a corner, it is good that you talk about it, because there'll be people who are leading up thinking they can't say that. Hearing that is real and it's a legitimate feeling, it'll be really good. But so post. Now that you've had the experience, how have the night times been?
Well, they're not as bad as I thought.
Right.
I thought they were going to be absolutely terrible. I think we're in this weird routine right now, which can't go on, by the way. The only reason this is okay is because I'm still on paternity leave.
Sure.
So at the moment, Lauren goes to bed at like 10.
Yeah.
And I'll stay with the baby a bit longer because just to give her some sleep, basically. All right. Because she's breastfeeding, so it's just giving her a break for like a couple of hours at least.
Yeah, relentless, isn't it?
Just getting some sleep. So I'll stay with the baby for a bit. But she seems to have, it's called the witching hour. Apparently.
Yeah.
It's like an actual phenomenon.
Yeah.
And
it's not an hour either.
No.
It's like 3 or 4.
It's 3 or 4 hours. So every single night so far, we are 12 days in now. Every single night precisely between 10 p.m. and 1:30 a.m.
That time when you're trying to get Lauren to get some sleep.
Yeah, when Lauren's getting some sleep. And then, but I get to the point where I'm really tired now, sort of like 11:30. I'm like, okay, Lauren's had an hour and a half. Like I've fed the baby. Hopefully now she'll sleep for 3 hours. And then Lauren in total has had like 4 or 5 hours of sleep.
Yeah.
Oh my God. she's a different beast. She
In what
doesn't
way?
stop. She doesn't stop fussing.
Oh.
So all day, like right now, she'll be downstairs, super chill.
Yeah.
Once she's had a feed, she'll sleep for 3 hours. She doesn't care. She's cool. And if she's awake, she's just happy.
Yeah.
Like she's just sort of looking around, flailing her arms around. She doesn't really fuss. 10 p.m. He's like, oh, we've had a feed. There you go. Put you down. I was like, okay. I'll pick you back up. I'll rock you. Does rocking work? No. Screaming. I'm like, okay, rocking's not good. That's fine. Let's swaddle you up. Let's get you wrapped up. Do you like that? She's like, no, get it off me. Pushing her arms out. And I'm like, oh my God, it's been 2 hours of you crying and I don't know what to do.
Oh my God. And I've seen a video. She is loud. She is loud for a tiny little princess. She is loud.
Scream, man. She can scream.
Screams.
But that's the bit. So that's the bit I'm struggling with. I'm getting to terms with it now. The first night, I really, really, really struggled because you just feel like I knew you had this feeling as well, but you feel like you're failing the kid.
Yeah, of course.
Because she was screaming and nothing I was doing was consoling her. And there was this part of my brain that was like, oh, well, stuff you then.
Yeah,
honestly, it was so pathetic. I was like, "Oh, stuff you then."
Like you're getting angry with a baby.
I've given you what you want. I've given you. I'm walking away.
Have you said this? Because I've said this to Rory multiple times. I'm like, you get exactly what you want as soon as you want it every single day forever. What are you moaning about?
I fed you milk and you've crapped it back out. What else do you want?
I've wiped the poo off the back of your neck because somehow it got up there.
Oh baby, let's talk poo.
Let's talk poo.
Let's talk poo for a minute. If you're a bit squeamish or you just don't like this, then
tough.
Then tough. Yeah, you got to listen for it. But
don't skip.
Oh my God, it's just something else, isn't it? Like, and it's just constant. And
with breastfeeding, it's relentless,
and it's just wet.
Yeah,
as well. It's like brown water just comes out of my baby, and it stinks. And I'm like, oh yay! At least that's not going to happen for another 19 minutes. And the amount of times she has done it immediately after a change.
They know.
Oh, they just know.
What's that? Brand new?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, what's that? Oh, I'm putting a nappy on you right now. Oh, better do that now then. It's the time to poo, isn't it?
Shall I poo once you've changed? Yes. Shall I scream once mummy's gone to bed? Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I should. Do you know this talk about how newborns they can't cognitively be. They know what they're doing.
Yeah.
I think they know exactly what they're doing.
Oh, it's just a poo smile. No. She's smiling at me because she knows what she's doing. All right? She knows.
Windy smiles are a conspiracy. Okay?
Yeah.
They're not
rubbish.
real. Don't listen to them. Here's where you get your real father and mother news.
Yeah.
Windy smiles are not real.
But getting used to it though. Good. It's not as... I was quite scared about the whole nappy changing thing because I just didn't think I'd be one of those people, you know. But you just do it. And she's just an extension of you. It's weird, isn't it?
If it's any consolation, I still hate getting him changed. So
yeah.
A few weeks down the road, it'll be exactly the same.
Yeah. At the moment, she just doesn't like it. She screams. But I've realised it is just purely if she's remotely cold. Imagine someone taking all your clothes off involuntarily and come on then, let's wipe your... I'm going to hold your legs up and wipe your ass. You'd be like, what? This is horrible. A horrible experience.
Not only are you touching me on my bum, which I hate, you're holding my legs up in the air and I'm on my neck.
And I was fully clothed a minute ago. Now I'm freezing cold.
And the poo was warm. My warm seat.
Yeah. Oh man!
Are you still talking about her? Jesus.
Oh yeah. Do you want to know some more?
Nah, yeah, go on.
No, but I will summarise. There's been lots of highs and lows.
Yep.
Extreme highs, extreme lows. I feel like the kind of honeymoon period is wearing off a little bit now because I was super crazy, euphoric in my feelings for the first
that keeps you going though. Keeps you going, doesn't it?
But that's calmed down a bit now. I'm a bit more oh, this is my life now. This is just my life now. So we have nice cuddles in the day. And
you've made me think.
Go on.
Okay, because I've got a moment because I'm not going to lie. I spoke to someone at work who had 2 sets of twins.
Yeah.
Right. So not only did they have twins, and I was like, "How did you do that?" 2 years later, fell pregnant again, twins again, and I was just talking to her I can't fathom doing twins once. Now I've got Rory. Never mind then doing twins again.
Yeah.
And I just said to her, I just because I was knackered. I was like, well, I'm just absolutely knackered. And when we speak about how I do still think we've got it easier than the girls being at home constantly with a fussy baby.
Yeah.
But I think what I need to reflect on now and really make clear to everyone is it doesn't mean that our job's easy. It's if their job's 10 out of 10 hard, ours is 9.9 because going to work and trying to function without sleep, it doesn't work for me. It doesn't work, and I know I'm running at 40% all the time. But I asked her, at what point am I not going to be tired? And she just laughed and she went, nah, that's done now. And her reasoning was really funny, and I was just taken aback by how much it made sense, and I was really sad after, because she said, by the time you get over being tired, you've either had another one, gone through it again, and then when they're old enough, eventually, you're just old, so you're just tired now. And I was like, oh, right, so I will never not feel tired again. She was like, yeah, basically.
Oh, it sucks. I see.
It's objectively terrible for my well-being. Okay, it's all right. Hopefully he becomes some kind of, rich, businessman or football player, because that's the only way it's going to pay off, isn't
Look after you, yeah.
It's the only way it's going to pay off. Okay.
Well, statistically speaking...
Yeah, he'll be living with me until he's 37. Sorry, Dad, I can't afford the £700,000 home because all the boomers have got them. But Dad, you're a boomer.
We're the boomers now.
Yeah, we'll be the boomers.
I love how the idea of boomer is like, it's just an old person now. Baby boomer. Nothing to do with the actual time
old person who's secured wealth. Just called boomers now.
They are
but yeah,
boomers.
It made me think as well, because the other night I was so tired. In the night, I'm like, I'm a different beast. I'm a different beast. And I was just knackered like that. Rory's fussing with Lauren. She's feeding him, getting him down. And I'm half awake, and I just hear him fussing, and that usually means he's in his crib wanting to be fed.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, okay, wait a minute. Here you go. And I just picked up my pillow and gave it to Lauren. I'm like, there's the baby. There you go. There's the baby. And Lauren was like, what? And I was like, the baby. Lauren, take the baby. Lauren's holding the baby. Hands feeding him.
And now she's holding the other one.
I'm asleep, giving him a pillow, as if that's helpful as well. Oh, he's fussing. Here you go. Here you go.
That's so funny.
Feed the pillow.
I love your delusional brain. I tell you what, you've reminded me, because I don't really get that, but I did have one thing last night. I've not even told Lauren yet.
Yeah.
I woke up in a very, very... those weird states where I'm not actually awake. Yeah. But I'm awake enough to think I'm awake. And
that's so weird, them states, aren't they?
Oh, it's very bizarre, because you just hallucinate.
Yeah.
And completely. I was looking at Lauren. I just remembered this. It was really bizarre, but it didn't freak me out in the moment because I was half asleep. And I was looking at Lauren, and she just had a giant head that was River's head. Her face was just River's face. And I looked at it for a solid 10 seconds.
Was Lauren's face on River smaller?
No, I didn't look at River. So Lauren was just facing me, on the pillow like this. And I was looking at her, and she was just River. But giant, it was just giant.
Are you sure it wasn't River just really close to you?
Yeah. And I didn't freak out. My honest thought train was, oh, I guess she does look like her. It wasn't. It was just River. It was her actual face on Lauren. Nonsense, like the short hair and everything.
Oh, she does look like Mummy. Okay, I'm going to sleep.
Yeah, I know. I was like, okay, that's fine. I accept that. I accept this.
Imagine if it was real, like the shock and horror.
Yeah.
Just
last night as well, I just remembered something else. I had the first Holy Trinity.
Oh, the Holy Trinity.
The Holy Trinity. I had this the sick,
the Father, the Ghost.
I had the Von P poo at the same time.
Yep.
That was funny. That actually made me laugh quite a lot.
Was that you or River?
Yeah, it was actually Lauren. When she was dressing up.
She was River.
Yeah, so I was changing her, and she was crying as well. I guess
of course.
That's the fourth element.
That's part of course.
I was like, okay, let's change the poos. Oh, weeing all over me. Oh, you vommed as well. Okay, brilliant. You're covered in poo.
And now you've done all that. You're crying again? Yes, you're crying again.
Yeah, you're crying again. Put new nappies on. Time to crap. Okay, let's do it again. I'd say on average I get through... Yeah, on average, 2 nappies per change. Yeah, like every time. She always immediately does something. Okay, I'm just going to vent for a second. Because this has boiled my blood. Because it's my fault every time, and it happens every freaking time.
Go on.
Every time I change her.
Right.
I'm exaggerating, it's not every time. Most of the time I change her.
Keep up the hyperbole, it's fine. It's fine.
She wheezes, right?
Yeah.
And I get it. I know that's the thing. Like, it's the cold, and then maybe you're wiping their bum or whatever, and she wheezes. And I'm always ready for it now. And I'll have that nappy. The new clean one there. I'm ready. I'm like, come on, you wee. I'm going to get this. And every time I do this, and then I sort of pull her clothes back because they just kind of folded back.
Yeah.
And she's just weed on them every time. She's managed to get a wee on them, and I'm like, oh my god, because she hates being.
Why
changed.
are you pulling clothes back before you change the nappy? What's going on?
What do you mean?
Is she just completely naked when you pull the clothes back?
Well, yeah. So like, I'll unpop her.
No. Have the new nappy underneath the old nappy.
I do that. Yeah.
So when's the chance for it to go on her?
I don't know. That's why I don't understand it. Because I'm like, surely the new nappy's catching this wee.
Yeah.
And then it's clearly just trickling down the back of this new nappy. Right. Just about.
Have you put the nappy on? Like wrapped it round and done it up?
No, at this point she's weed. Like I'm literally taking the other one away. And she's peed everywhere. I get you. I'm like, quick, catch it.
Yeah.
And then somehow it's got on her clothes.
Wet wipe on her belly. Make her wee before.
I tried that.
Yeah.
she screamed so much
it's cold.
that I was like, I can never do this to you again because you will explode. Her head was going to explode.
Okay.
Genuinely.
Lauren's head or baby's head?
Same thing. So it's been fun. We're working it out. I have she's not cried once or twice when changing her, and both times she's been super warm. So I was like, clearly she's just cold.
She's a cold baby.
Just cold.
She's a little cold baby.
Yeah. Anyway. Oh, thanks for that.
That's all right. Was that good?
Yeah, I needed that.
Okay, nice one. I was going to talk about my week, but it's not really remotely as interesting.
Oh, I'm sure it is.
Yeah. So, I've done Christmas decorations in school. You're one of two types of teachers, aren't you? I don't know anyone listening who's a teacher could put themselves into one of two brackets. I did a little vote on Instagram this week, and it was about a cupboard. Is your cupboard just a hellhole where you shove everything?
Yeah.
Yes. Or is it unbelievably pristinely organised with like banners and big like this is my pen drawer and etc. like that? I'm definitely the chaotic person. I think you're actually quite good. I
try to be. It does get
probably maybe edging towards chaos. Not quite that pristine. I always think of like a pristine ECT.
Beginning of the year it is. Beginning of the year. Yeah. I'm not
a lot of people say that, and I'm saying I do one big tidy. It's already a mess in there right now. Like that doesn't even last till Christmas for me. Anyway, I was asking you, one of two types of teachers. We've got to do, and this is a really like staple. Anyone who's in a primary school probably did this. You've got to decorate your hoops because your hoops go up in the hall. For us, it's long pieces of ribbon. And we had some amazing in year 4 with my parallel teachers. They did some beautiful wreaths. They looked really pristine all around the edge. I'll post a picture. My other parallel teacher in year 4 did some snowflakes, beautifully folded and cut out with glitter. It just looks fantastic. And they were kind of hung up in the shared area next to each other. And I was like, oh, that's beautiful. That's really nice. Where's my one? Oh, there it is. The absolutely demented snowmen. We did snowmen, and honest to God, snowmen are meant to be round.
Yeah.
Don't choose circles to cut out of year 4. Don't do that because they don't have the dexterity to cut circles out. It's basically hexagons, nonagons. Complete nonsense. I tried to do them 3D as well.
Yeah.
So like they fold out, and that kind of worked. But then I was like, okay, if they're hanging in the hall, the back's just going to be blue where they're on card. That's going to look rubbish. So what we'll do is I'll double up. Every kid can just pair up at the end. We'll glue them together at the back, and then it'll be like 360.
Yeah.
Didn't think that's going to half the amount of decorations I have.
Oh yeah, of course.
So it doesn't remotely fill the line anymore.
No.
So it's just sporadic, horrible Frosty the Snowman,
Really
half melted, really heavy. Going to fall on the kid's head in assembly. Look like absolute rubbish. And I was like, cool. That's teacher B right there. That's me. Teacher A, teacher B. Don't know which one you are.
And I'm not even been there. I'm teacher B. Do you remember my donkeys? My donkeys the other year. It was
like, context, we can pick whatever we want. He picked a donkey. Why would you pick a donkey?
Because it was like the last day to do them and I hadn't picked anything.
So you went, what's the most horribly tricky thing to make with like 10-year-olds?
Oh, it wasn't tricky, mate. we made I got them a bit of grey card and they cut out like a trapezium shape. And they just drew a donkey in it. They made some ears as well, like cut out some ear shapes, but they were just so crap.
Trapezium donkeys!
Yeah, literally just
yeah, because mine's like that as well. This is how you can tell it's a rubbish Christmas decoration because it was just 3 white circles and I gave them felt tips. Yeah. So can you draw the snowman?
Everyone took the mick. I bet they take the mick out of you as well.
Completely.
Luckily, I've not been there this year.
Complete nonsense. Oh yeah,
so
I don't know what they've done.
My job share teacher will have...
Because they're going up this week.
Done that. I don't know what they've done. I can't remember what they signed up for.
If it's not us, it's all the better for the school.
Yeah, it was.
I think, Hayden, we should move on because we've had enough chat there. Someone did a post with their Spotify Wrapped. I don't know if you've seen it. Spotify Wrapped time to see everyone. It was really nice to see the amount of people who are sending us stuff saying, thank you for being the top podcast. I was like, that's unbelievable. And there's literally, I can't remember the exact number. It was over 500 different people were in like their top 5 or top 10 or something
top 10,
like that.
I think it was.
That is unbelievable. Like the amount of people who just listen to us so much. Thank you guys.
Oh, that's nice.
One of my friends, I will say very quickly, we've produced like 2.2 thousand minutes, I think. Something like that.
Yeah.
Something like that. One of my friends sent me his and he was in the top 0.5% of listeners. I was like, oh, you legend. Big shout out, James Brown. Absolute legend. But then I looked deeper and he'd listened to something like 2.8 thousand minutes. And I went, you've listened to the equivalent of 16-hour-long episodes, something like that.
Yeah.
And he was like, yeah, I listened to it twice. We were like, haha, good one. But then we worked it out and it was, he was like, yeah, I told you, I listened to it twice.
Wow. I mean, thanks,
I don't think
James.
he actually does, but he said he doesn't know what's going on there.
Is it because we picked up his company?
I don't know. Maybe he's just been sending it to people, to customers. You can listen to us on this podcast, right?
Yeah, check out this episode. Well, I like the sound of this one. No, check this one out.
I'm really interested in toxic skills. No, listen to this point. 27 minutes into episode 42.
Well, a quick shout out to James. Actually, he's been helping me a lot recently because we've been remortgaging.
Yep.
Need financial planning.
Need
I do need it.
Do you need financial planning?
Yeah.
Go to Need Financial Planning.
He's doing a fantastic job.
He's a top boy.
Cheers, James.
Well done, James. There you go. There's your clip, mate. It's gonna next year's Spotify route to go 10k.
Yeah. He better be on 0.1%.
It's really weird because I look at the analytics. This episode, 500 more listens than normal.
Imagine. I'm like, cool. Let's pick up James every day then. Every episode.
Sponsored by Need Financial Planning. All right, okay, we've had a debrief. We've had, the first half where we're now a parenting podcast. Let's get on to the educational stuff here because we did do a bite-sized episode end of last week, and it was all about things you can do before you quit teaching. And I know we always plow in, don't we? And it feels like we go negative, but we're still teachers. All these things we talk about, there were some really practical steps we've taken to stay in the profession because at the end of the day, we love teaching. Yeah. It's as simple as that. We love working with the children. We love helping them out. But this kind of idea that the profession has kind of sleptwalked into this horrible situation where we're losing a lot of teachers. People who are in the job are more dissatisfied than ever. The Wellbeing Report showed that. So I thought today what we could do was kind of lead on from last time, 5 ways we can stay in the job. If you haven't listened, go and listen. Very practical, and send it to your teacher friends who are feeling a bit low and might help them out a little bit. But I wanted to talk now a bit more about, in our longer episode, about how the job has changed because the wellbeing is on the down. Okay, recruitment's on the down and people are leaving in droves. So something's changed. The job is getting more different and we're going to split it in half, aren't we, Hayden? 2 different ideas here.
Yeah, we've kind of got this, we've thought about what's changed and actually there's these kind of macro changes, aren't there? These big changes from like over decades, really. Like that if you talk to your parents and grandparents, they might tell you some stories of what education was like then. But there's also been a massive change since we have joined this career. So we're talking over the last decade at the most. The last sort of 8-9 years, really. Yeah.
And it's been intense over the last, I'd say, since COVID. Yeah. And since before. I think it's been even more intense since then.
Yeah, since about 2019.
What happened then? Let's listen to find out, shall we?
But realistically, it's 2014. It's kind of the
new curriculum.
It's the new curriculum. There was a new national curriculum for those that aren't in education, a new national curriculum in 2014. And there's definitely just been changes culturally and with funding and everything. We're going to go into those topics a bit more. So should we start then just by, let's underpin this whole conversation with a bit of a chat about the macro changes. What are some of the big things that have changed over time in education, from the teacher's perspective, I guess, mostly?
Yeah, and I think this is great to start off with because like we always say, we've got lots of listeners in education, lots of listeners outside. We can all attest to this. And I think some of the big changes in education, I'm talking like over 30, 40, 50 years, have been really positive.
Yeah, I'd say mostly.
I think it's been really good. And the biggest thing, I suppose, is you talk to teachers who've been doing it their whole career. There never used to even be a curriculum. Yeah. They'd walk in one day and be like, we're going to do today. Should we, let's paint some Van Gogh sunflowers in the afternoon. We'll do a bit of maths in the morning. And, what was expected of children was nowhere near at the levels we're talking today. We can have a discussion later about whether we expect too much from children today. Yeah. But I think having that kind of broad and balanced curriculum that was consistent across the country and levels and kind of benchmarks that we want children to get to clearly was a good thing, in my opinion.
I think it was, I'm trying to think of the date. We didn't write it down. Was it 99? I feel like it was 9. Was it?
Yeah.
Was it late 80s? I can't remember now.
We're completely making this up, so let's not pretend to know.
I can't remember what I was trying to think of was it when we were at primary school?
Nah, before that, I think.
Yeah, because if it was, I don't remember there being feeling like a change, but
yeah. Well, when we were in primary school, there's things like the numeracy hour and the literacy hour, and that was embedded, and it was really prescriptive. So there was definitely that shift from kind of like, artsy fartsy, primary school,
just kind of do what you want, life skills,
to talk about things, and do some Roman Empire. Why don't you build a Colosseum? That'd be nice, wouldn't it? Yeah, and then we'll do something else. But I think that move and that shift, especially at the start, was only a good thing. Having levels of what we expect children to get to, and kind of a balanced, no matter where you are in the country, you've got to learn this.
Do you mean a good thing overall for everyone, or do you mean a good thing for the kids?
Good thing. Listen, it was less autonomy to the teacher. I'm sure if you were a teacher at the time, it'd be really annoying to be told now you've got to plan everything from scratch, do exactly this. But I think overall, it has to be a good thing. Yeah, it has to be a good thing that we have kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? expectations, and people will hold you accountable to it.
Yeah.
Because depending on what school you go to, what teacher you got, I'm sure some children had an amazing experience. Some children would have had a terrible experience.
Yeah, because there just wasn't that structure in place. It was a bit more potluck.
Exactly.
But it was different back then. I can imagine. Yeah, it was quite annoying because we've taught with people who actually taught in that time period. Taught by the end of their careers, and they've been doing it for 30, 40 years. Yeah. And we've heard stories of teachers going to the pub at lunchtime.
Yeah, I know.
And that wasn't even really that long ago. No. I know teachers now who've still got a good 10, 15 years left of the career who were like, yep, I remember at the start of my career, on a Monday and Wednesday every week, we'd go down the pub at lunchtime for a whole hour.
Yeah.
And we'd have a beer.
Yeah.
And we'd have, some food.
And I don't know about you, I'm up for a pub visit. You know me, Hayden. We're always up for going to the pub. I've always felt slightly unnerved by that. And this idea, whenever you say it, it's always like, oh, doesn't that sound great? Head down to the pub. I've always, deep down, even if I've laughed and agreed, I've always thought, oh, that's not quite professional, is it? That's not. Is
it the beer or the pub?
It's the beer. It's the beer.
Yeah.
Go and have food. Of course you can. The idea of sinking a pint and coming back smelling of ale.
Yeah.
And teaching the children, to me, that's a step too far.
Yeah, me too.
I don't think in the course of your day teaching you should be consuming alcohol.
No, but I think the mindset of alcohol in our country has shifted a lot over the years anyway, hasn't it? It used to be a lot more just
binge drinking.
People would drink and drive their cars. Literally would do that, and it was like not even a thing for a long time. It's mad.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So I mean, there's some of the big changes, like culturally, what you hear about, I suppose. The big one you see a lot online, and again, I've always thought, is this true? It clearly is. It's the dwindling respect of the profession, because I think if you speak to my parents or anyone who's of a certain generation, the teacher said something that was final. That was it. And it was that's it, I'm afraid. Yeah, I'm on the teacher's side, of course I am.
Yeah, if the teacher said, my kid has done something, my kid's in trouble.
Yeah.
I believe the teacher, I respect them. Thank you, Mr. Teacher, or Mr. Teacher, whatever.
Because why on earth would you make that up? And even if you have made it up, my kid's going to take it on the chin.
Yeah.
Because, no, listen, don't want to hear it. Teachers dealt with it, and this is the conclusion they've come to.
Yeah.
That's the conclusion they've come to. You're going to have to learn sometimes it's not fair.
Yeah.
But most of the time, the teacher's not making something up.
Definitely changed now. I mean, I made a meme recently. Didn't do as well as yours, obviously, but...
and
was
it 1.2 million views?
No, it was about 4,000. So
mine was
close.
Yeah.
1.2. Wait, what's more? 1.2 million? Oh no, 1.2 million is a bit more.
You know what we need? A national curriculum so that we can both do that.
Anyway, the whole point of this meme was about. I literally said in it, your child has been caught shoving glue sticks into someone else's shoes, and then the parents like, my kid would never do that.
My kid told me he didn't.
Oh, okay. That's fine then.
Oh, sorry, your kid told you he didn't. I must have not seen that.
Because kids don't lie. I always forget as a teacher when I've taught 1,000 children that kids don't lie.
It's weird. And teachers do. Teachers do. Yeah. What's that? You saw him do it?
No, teachers' eyes, they're weird. They've got there's something about
odd.
teachers' eyes. They don't
really
see
odd.
things properly.
I don't get it. And I think linked to that, though, the kind of idea of the respect of the teacher.
Yeah.
There is something, though, both ways.
Yeah.
Because I do think that it was very militant back then. And I don't necessarily think it's bad that we shifted from complete 100%, oh my gosh, the teacher's word is final, that's the end of it, it's awful. Because I also think teachers, a lot back then, the attitude was, if a child couldn't do something, that's the child's fault.
Yeah.
You're not trying hard enough. What do you mean you can't? What do you mean you can't do this maths? It's because you're not trying hard enough. And I'm going to tell your parents you're not trying hard enough in class. And that links in with SEN, ASD. Autism,
I think
ADHD.
I think a lot more people back in the day, when I mean back in the day, I'm talking like more than 20 years ago, I guess.
Yeah.
I think a lot more people had a very negative experience of school, and possibly even traumatic, to the point where people grow up and they really, really hate the idea of school, and then they pass that down, that fear and that anxiety to their kids because they had such a bad time.
Everyone in the country right now, me and you, everyone knows of someone in the older generations of their family talking about having a rubber thrown at their head.
Yeah.
Talking about being caned by the head teacher. That stuff doesn't leave you. It's unbelievable to think that back then that was acceptable. And it's another example of how the big changes in education have been unbelievably good. That of course we can't lay our hands on children anymore. That is unbelievably crazy to me right now. And I don't believe that back then there weren't people who thought that's wrong.
Yeah, I know. And it's funny because the irony is like, people like my granddad or something will say, I mean, he won't actually, but people of that kind of age will say things like, yeah, I remember, I got a board rubber thrown at my head when I was chatting to so-and-so. It's good. We need to bring this stuff back.
Yeah.
And it's sort of like, oh, wasn't it a bit traumatizing? No. It's like, aren't you remembering this 76
aren't you
years
still
later?
talking about it?
And you tell me this every single year. It sounds like it was a bit traumatizing, actually, and it's really stuck with you. And that's not good. Like, you shouldn't really remember being told off. You should just be...
And just because you remember it, it seems like it's a good thing.
It's like, no.
I didn't do it. Yeah, because you were hit in the head.
Yeah, and you were lucky enough to be all right afterwards. Yeah. Some people would have been horribly traumatized, and it genuinely would have like set them up for a very different life after that, because they've been literally physically abused at school. Yeah. Like, that's not cool.
No, it's unbelievable. And I think that the last macro change that we want to talk about before we get into our experience, and again, we hear this all the time. There was no such thing as autism back in my day. These kids just badly behaved. There's no such thing as ADHD. We're just making excuses for these kids. Yes, there was.
Yeah.
And those kids were left behind.
Yeah.
And those kids weren't given the provision they need. They were the naughty kids. They were the kids who didn't try their hardest. They were the kids who didn't achieve well. They still had the needs.
I'll tell you what else happened with those kids. They didn't go to school.
Yeah.
Sometimes there was so much shame in it.
Yeah.
That's okay, that kid doesn't go to school. Or they get sent to a different, a specialist provision school when they maybe don't really need to be there because they're just a bit naughty. But there's a reason. These things just haven't just appeared. I think people need to kind of...
But you're telling me it wasn't the vaccines?
Right. People need to kind of get over that. I think it's a really immature thought process. Yeah. When I hear people say that, I'm like, have you really come to that conclusion? Like, have you not spent like 10 seconds thinking about how that's ludicrous?
When was the last time you were in a classroom with 32 kids, and from our point of view, we notice when there are needs, right? When was the last time those people saying it doesn't exist did that?
Yeah,
it doesn't exist. Have you seen them? No.
Yeah. So they're all just badly behaved. No, they're not even badly behaved.
Yeah, I know.
They just have needs. Like, they're not even bad behaviour. No,
such a horrible thing to say, isn't it? Badly behaved. Yeah. What? Just like can't hold their concentration for more than 10 seconds because of a literal disposition, like a chemical disposition. Yeah. So what we're going to do as staff, and this is something that's changed, I think.
Yeah.
Teachers now think, okay, if a child doesn't get something, it's my job to find a different way. It's my job to kind of help them find a way to do it. It's never ever, if a child can't do it, tough.
Yeah, it's your fault for not doing it.
Yeah, and that has detrimental effects on our well-being when funding doesn't happen and we don't get the help we need. But overall, it's one of those big macro changes. I think if you go from general education 50s, 60s, 70s, general education noughties, 10s, 20s, it's incomparable. Yeah, definitely. It's been for the best.
Yeah, I agree. I think most of the changes are for the good. People might disagree, but they are.
What about recent years? They've been for good. Should we dive a bit into?
Okay, let's have a quick jingle, get our brains together, and come back and talk about the recent years.
All right, Hayden. So they're the like general macro events that have happened, the things that have changed in teaching. But I think what's going to be really interesting for people now, and hopefully we can really lay this out and articulate it, because teachers will be feeling this and maybe just not being able to say, well, what is it that's changed? Because why am I so much now more stressed than I've ever been, especially in these more recent years? So we've really thought hard, haven't we, about what exactly has changed? Because we started teaching in 2016-ish, 2015, 2016. Yep. We're now in 2023. And I do think that the job of being a teacher is, at this point, almost impossible. I think what is literally laid out as expected from us.
Yeah.
I'm going to go out on a whim now and say it is impossible to deliver all parts of our job to a high professional standard all of the time.
Yeah. It is impossible.
It is impossible.
Something has to give, and people find that really hard. I think part of maturing as a teacher is realizing that something has to give. Otherwise, it's you. It's kind of like something's got to go, or you're leaving this profession, Yeah. And that's hard because you want to do a really good job. Of course we do. We all want to do a really good job. Yeah. Let's talk about some of the things then. We've kind of divided it into three categories, and there's a few little things we'll talk about each one. So we're going to start by talking a bit about money, a bit about funding, because
we're not talking salaries.
No, we're not talking about us. Not talking about our money here. We're talking about a chronic and consistent underfunding of schools in the last decade.
Yeah,
and it does go back further. You can go back further, but let's just think about it in recent history.
But when we were when we were in primary school, education was ploughed with money, and I felt it. I felt it in primary. I felt it. We got new things. We got computer suites. We got new playground equipment. We got stuff all the time.
Yeah,
and it was really, really good. Yeah. And Blair had that whole thing with the Labour government of education. There was a huge drive since 2010 austerity. It has been consistently, if you look at every graph possible, this isn't a political spin, it is a fact. every graph possible. It's been squeezed and squeezed, and we feel it.
Do you know what would be a really good experiment for people to do if you could ever be bothered to do this? Go back, if you're an adult listening, go back to your primary school, right? And I don't know what age you are. This could be like recent history, whatever. Go back to your primary school and look around it, and I promise you that there is a very high chance that you will go around it and it looks exactly the same. Same carpets. Same building, like there's no new building work, that it's all just a bit more crumbly, same roof.
Same crumbly concrete.
Yeah, same crumbly concrete. It'll be the same kinds of things on the walls, the same hall equipment. You know, in the early 2000s, when every single school hall ever over the wooden floor got one of those wall equipment things installed that no one ever used, because it was too scary to pull out. That's still there, and there's not been any advancement since then. And I've said this before in another episode ages ago, that there was a TikTok meme of, it was supposed to be nostalgic. And like, remember all these, and it was showing pictures.
Benches in year sixes.
Benches in year sixes.
Oh, it's the same.
The little bean bags, the wall equipment. And it was like, none of that's changed.
That's not nostalgia.
Or the little blue chairs with the holes in and those tables and the green carpets. It's all there. It's all there and just rotted now. But we have to use it because there's no funding for equipment. There's no funding for tech. It's so hard. There was a push about 10 years ago that got iPads in loads of schools. I mean, unless those iPads are still running, good luck. Yeah. Because it's hard to get any more funding for those.
Do you know what did happen as well? Worst thing that's ever gone into schools ever? Chromebooks. Everyone got a Chromebook. They never worked. They never worked. They cost about 10p each, I think, to run. Everyone got a Chromebook. It's cool. We got a Chromebook each. But 57% of them don't work ever, and the other lots aren't charged. So here's your Chromebook.
Oh god, but so chronic underfunding. Even in things like research, and having specialists in your school. Like there used to be just a lot more budget for a school to be like, there's this need in our school. We're going to spend 12 grand this year having this group come in and this specialist, and we're going to do these little workshops and bits and bobs to enrich this part of our culture, cultural capital of the school.
Can teacher do that? Can just teach that?
Yeah, that's it now.
Can teacher do that, please?
It's, identify the gap. Okay, what are we going to do about it? Well, what are you going to put in your planning?
Go on in. Yeah,
you got to do that.
Can you not do specialist music teaching? No. Oh, not going to get it then because I got no money.
Yeah.
But I think the number one way for me as a teacher, I noticed this. So I noticed everything you've been saying. The thing that really, 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 really gets me is teaching assistants. Teaching assistants is the number one way where I think back to me being at school, and I think now, teaching assistants, I felt like at my school when I was younger, outnumbered teachers like 2 or 3 to 1. There was like a whole army of them. And they all had specific jobs. It might be 1-to-1. It might be that they're just literally assisting in the class as a teaching assistant. That's the one thing to me that's absolutely crazy, because I look at maths and English, and we're going to talk about Ofsted later on and the expectations of afternoon lessons. But the big thing for me is, I think what would transform my job is having a teaching assistant who is my teaching assistant all day, works with me as a teacher, and we are a team.
You're a team, yeah.
And we can plan. I'm going to do the planning. I'm the teacher, of course. But we can literally together plan out our day, and we work as a team, not shared with the other year group, with the rest of the year group. Sorry.
Yeah.
Because at the minute, I think I probably get a TA for 50% of my morning lessons, not even every maths lesson, English lesson, and never once for an afternoon lesson.
Yeah. And that's standard, by the way. That's not just our school. That's just pretty standard. Depends, depends where you are, depends what class you got. And it's quite reasonable now for people to have no TA at all, at all times in the day. Maybe you're in a school that sets by ability, and the TAs have just been that they're a limited resource, and they've all gone to the lower sets that just need more hands-on support. And you happen to be teaching higher sets all morning, and you just don't have any.
By the way,
assistance.
are still 8 years old and need help.
Yeah. And you also, the point is, and here's the big change, right? Not only has the funding caused us to have less TAs, fewer TAs. Oh, damn it. Fewer TAs, it always catches me out. I'm going to do it on purpose now. That's my ruse for doing it wrong.
That's classic teacher. And you noticed the mistake. Well done.
Yeah, fewer mistakes from me, please.
Yep. Less.
Don't confuse me. Yeah, so not only the funding has affected TAs, it's their role as well. So like you were just saying, it definitely used to be a team. There was a team spirit. It was like the TA and the teacher, they were just this little unit. And between them, they did what they needed to do. It doesn't feel like that anymore.
No.
That you'd be very lucky to have that. It is very much, You might have a little bit of TA support, and they're not really your TA. They're also being pulled from pillar to post.
And they'll be doing interventions and probably taking some children out in the afternoon to do some extra maths or something.
Yeah, or but it's just gone are the days where it might be that the teacher just needs some literal assistance.
Yeah.
Not with the kids for a minute. Just literally they need help because they've got tons of jobs to do and they're in charge. They're the manager of the classroom, and they need someone to go and pick up this. Could you print that? Would you mind just putting this up on the wall for me? And can you go and get the medication for that kid and just sort this out for me?
Yeah.
You just can't do that anymore.
I think we're going to talk more about TAs later, I think, when we talk about afternoons.
Sure.
Because that'll be really interesting. But I guess the last thing to do with funding for me, and it's a huge gaping gap, because whilst we talked in the gaping gap, I don't know what gap isn't gaping. This is a gaping gap. And the point, though, is we talked about that macro change of SEN provision, special educational needs, being a lot more on the map and us being way more aware of it.
Yeah, which is great.
Which is absolutely fantastic. What's horrendous is that then it stops. So as a teacher, from my point of view, what's happening is, okay, this child's getting a provision plan.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Getting this education, health and care plan. Amazing. Getting diagnosis. Brilliant. We know all about their needs now and we can really cater to that. How are we going to cater to that? And what do you mean we?
This is how we cater to it, ready?
Yeah. There you go.
There you go, mate.
Off you go.
No, look, there's the report. Now, how are we going to cater to it? No, I've given you the report.
Sorry, have you got any funding for me to implement any of?
Yeah, we spent it on getting the report.
Okay, yeah.
That's all we've got.
And isn't it something crazy like the first £10,000 of someone's need has to be funded by the school?
I think that's with educational healthcare plans.
So what they're basically saying is that if you go through the rigmarole of helping a child who needs an education healthcare plan, you're going to put a 10 grand hole in your budget.
Yeah, on the school budget. Yeah, it really takes a hit. It makes it very hard for leaders.
So what if you have 7 children in your class who absolutely need support? Sorry, 70 grand before we do anything.
Tough. We've seen it. We've seen it happen year after year after year. I've seen it happen every single year in my career.
But children get left behind.
Yeah, they do. And it's horrible. I look at them, I think, oh, you deserve it just as much as that person.
And do you know what? Obviously, I'm not going to pretend that we are at more of a detriment than the child who might not be getting what they need. But that's on us mentally, that we know that these lovely children who are under our care, who we are paid to look after every single day and help develop and meet their needs, we physically cannot do that.
No.
Because we don't have what's in place needed, that we have all agreed because there's been a plan approved. Everyone in the system agrees that the child needs this, but it's down to you to do with no funding and no help.
Yeah, no, and your TA's gone. Yeah,
and there's no TA. There's nothing there. We are at the end game of the funding crisis. And I think to summarize this whole funding thing, it is completely broken.
Yeah.
And we are not making it. When we go on strike and when we shout out about this, we're not doing it because we're lazy. We're not doing it because we like moaning. We're doing it because we live this job. We love this job, and it is completely broken.
It's failing the kid. We get to watch it firsthand fail a lot of these children, and you just think, God, there could be so much more in place for these children with just a little bit of money, a bit of funding, and it's not there. So it's the double-edged blade. Yes, we think it's
double-edged
great.
Double-edged blade?
Sword? Double-edged sword? Same thing.
All right. We'll just stick synonyms in from now on and say.
Who are you calling me out on these gaping gaps? You crazy man. It's a double-edged sword because yes, overall the change towards SEN provision has been great because it's way more recognised now.
Availability,
that's great. But
I didn't mean availability.
the funding hasn't kept up with it.
I meant accessibility. Vision.
You know when you just say what someone else is saying, you're like, yeah, shut up, I'm talking.
Yes, right.
Yeah, but that's the problem. It's not kept up. The funding hasn't kept up with the research and understanding of these children's needs, which is really hard because then we just get to watch the system fail. Great part of teaching.
Yeah. In the 70s, it didn't exist. We were blind to it. Now we know it's there and it still doesn't get sorted.
Woo!
Brilliant.
Right, let's talk about our next sort of topic of conversation, I guess. So we're done with
since
funding.
Since we started school, this has been unimaginable to me, this change. I can't actually fathom it looking back now. That it used to be, we teach maths and English, and then we do some topic in the afternoon. It might be some science. It was low stakes. Okay, we still want to make some fantastic. We have some fun lessons.
Yeah,
we might do some geography where we're looking at some maps and we go outside for a bit. History, we'll get some artifacts out and discuss them. Yeah, that's cool because these are 7-year-olds. So that is all they need to do is just have a little chat about it.
They don't actually need to remember certain facts.
About history. They do now because in 2019 there was a new Ofsted framework, and that framework has single-handedly ruined this profession. in my opinion. No, really, I do think it has.
Big words from Dylan here.
No, because we talk about the funding.
Yeah.
That, teachers were miracle workers, and we'll always put the kids first, and we are professionals, and we do make sure children get what they need. Like, so jokes aside and stress aside, the annoying thing about the underfunding is there are such a fantastic teachers out there that we are kind of plugging those gaps as much as we can. Picking up the slack, and that's why we're so stressed. That's why we're so stressed. Yeah. But, however, with the Ofsted framework, unless you follow this framework, you're at risk of your school being deemed requires improvement, and then head loses their job, everything down the pan.
Yep.
So, Hayden, can you just very quickly summarize for anyone who doesn't know what we're talking about? Firstly, what do we even mean by a framework? What happened in 2019? How did this shift and change our job a lot when it comes to afternoon lessons?
Sure. So you probably know what Ofsted is, and their job is to keep schools accountable, and they have their own framework documents. So when they go into schools, all of their inspectors, they're all consistent, and they know what they're looking for. And what I guess the major change in 2019 was this idea that they can look at any subject, including all of the afternoon subjects, in extreme detail, and they will scrutinize any one subject to an extreme level. Whereas before there was a bit more of a kind of a surface approach. They might do that with maths and English because they are the core subjects, and with science. But when it comes to those afternoon subjects, when it comes to maybe PE and geography, history and music and languages and RE, it might just be a bit more of a, let's just check that you've got a curriculum that you're following, and the children are being enriched, and they're developing some understanding of these subjects, because they're a primary school. They'll go to secondary school and become a bit more specialised in areas in those subjects.
With specialised teachers.
With teachers who only teach that thing. So what it's done is it's put this immense pressure on schools to make sure that every teacher is an absolute specialist in every single subject, which you might think, wow, that's great. And yeah, in the ideal world, that is great, isn't it? That does sound good. Imagine having skilled teachers that well. It's like, okay, cool. It's not real though, is it? No. And also, where does that come from? Suddenly I'm just going to be that skilled now, am I? No, it's going to come out of my time, and it's going to be very stressful. And
it manifests in the idea then, since then, leading a subject has become the most toxic thing you honestly could possibly do to someone's well-being, because you don't get paid for it. You simply don't get paid for it. So you've got to do this change in school, have progression documents, make sure everything is really clear between year 3 and then year 4, then year 5. And how is that going? If you're in history, how's the chronology getting better? And how's their understanding of sources getting better? And how's all the different strands of history? There's got to be progression throughout the whole school. You're in charge of that, by the way. You've got to make that. Okay, not only am I not a history specialist, so I don't know what you're talking about, I also am just delivering my job of teaching, which is a full-time job.
All my time already.
That's all my time, gone already. and now you want me to be a specialist in history? And I made a meme about this. The joke was, a head teacher buttering up someone saying, who's that wonderful girl? Because I'm about to ask you to leave geography for nothing.
Yeah. It's the fact that it doesn't come with pay or time. It's just insanity. Yeah. Even just time is a bit like, a bit cheeky.
Yeah.
Not actually paying me for it, but at least I'm reducing time from my other job. And just pay is still a bit like, it's a bit cheeky because I do work full-time hours already. Yeah. You are just kind of paying me to do it at my weekends.
And it's never it's never worth it, the pay.
No, not at all. Never worth it. So yeah, Ofsted 2019 did mess things up a little bit. We've definitely felt the change, especially post-COVID, when it was even more imperative to catch these kids up. But I think the main issue I have is it's become really knowledge-based again.
And boring.
Yeah, it is.
Like on the whole, I think there's big changes you can make to curriculums to make them better, and I think progression's cool, and I understand it. But the lead into knowledge.
Yeah,
I agree with you more and more as time goes on. I don't care if a child doesn't know when Tutankhamun's tomb was found. However, what would be really cool would be to talk about what was in the tomb and why they went and found it,
and knowing what the ancient Egyptians were.
Yeah,
just having that kind of more interesting level of knowledge.
Yeah.
Do you know what, 7-year-old? If you really find this interesting, you can go and do a bit more research on it, and you might even do it in the next 5 years of secondary school when you have a specialist history teacher that knows loads about it.
I think the job has to be, right, and this is where it's changed and it's more stressful than ever. I would love my job to be to get children to be able to read, understand well, to be able to do the most basic of maths and understand that there are problems that they can work towards and have methods on how to solve them, and have a love of learning other things.
Yeah,
and that's enough. They don't have to leave primary school, knowing what the rock formation was in an ancient, in Pompeii. Like, I don't care if they know that's metamorphic or not, or sedimentary or whatever. I don't actually care. Yeah. What I care about is, imagine if they were hooked by the story of Pompeii.
Are there any volcanoes in Peru, and are they active or dormant? It's like, the kids don't care. Why would they care about that? Yeah, exactly. It's so uninteresting and boring.
Yeah. But kids,
to most people.
But I've seen kids, and this is the beauty of being in a primary school, they can get hooked on a rocks lesson. Yeah. They can get hooked on it because they're going to just go and get some rocks from the playground. Yeah. Whenever I've done rocks with children before, for weeks afterwards, I get children coming in the morning, I found a rock. Yeah. They're just bringing a rock. And it's like, that is all I care about. Yeah. If you couldn't tell me how old you think that rock is, because based on the lines and the sedimentary buildup, I couldn't care less.
But if you could tell me, if a kid said to me, I want to go and find out X or Y about this, then I'd be like, I've done my job well. Yeah. Good. I don't care if they memorized it now. Yeah. But this is just a memory test. It's all a memory test now. We're really going down this rabbit hole in education of test and memory on everything. It's such a stupid way of standardizing children.
And I suppose to summarize, how has that changed over our career? I think it's just it's workload and it's expectation with absolutely no extra support. And it links back to what we're saying. And that's the point I wanted to make about TA. Because we have this really high bar now. The bar has been raised and raised and raised for afternoon lessons. You can come at me and tell me that's a good thing all you want, and it'd be hard for me to argue against it. To say for the same reason it was good that a curriculum came in general. Of course, is it good that we have higher standards for history and science? Of course, it's hard for me to argue no, but it has to come alongside funding, has to come alongside support. Because I bet you now, if you're a teacher listening to this podcast, you have help in the mornings for English and maths at some point. And you probably have smaller groups because you might have people premium funding to get an extra teacher in and do sets and things like that. I bet you have nothing in the afternoon.
Yeah, and I bet it's your longest subject as well.
The idea of an 8-year-old doing a 2-hour 20 or 2-hour 30 lesson in the afternoon, where it's pure, you got to remember all these historical facts, is mental.
Yeah. Without a break.
Yeah, without a break.
Some schools have breaks. Most schools don't. No. In the afternoon, it's just like a big chunk of
So you get loads of support, loads of extra input for maths and English, real good help, and it's only for an hour and a half-ish. But in the afternoon, you're on your own. It's 2.5 hours, and they've got to know everything.
And make sure you don't forget the 3 hours of math and English you did before that.
I know, yeah.
Already exhausted? Tough.
You're really tired, and you don't want to work hard. Okay, cool. Well, that's tough, because I'm going to get judged on it. Yeah. And by the way, afterwards, I need to assess you on every single tiny strand and every single lesson.
My happy memories of school are 100% doing nice, fun things in the afternoon that got me interested in stuff. That is it.
Yeah, I know I did tutors, right?
Yeah.
I couldn't tell you now. I probably could. So it's a bad example. But I couldn't tell you, for example, when Queen Elizabeth was born. I'm sure I got taught that.
Yeah.
But do you know what? I remember that she was a leader who never married, and she was part of the Spanish Armada, and we had this whole thing going. I was like, wow, that's cool.
That was interesting.
That's really interesting. And Henry VIII was this unbelievable tyrant who had just split from the church and made up this new religion. Like, wow, I remember that. That's really interesting.
Yeah.
I don't remember the single
Do you remember the type of material that was used to make his clothes? That's the kind of random nonsense.
And what was the chronological link between that and the Victorians?
Yeah.
Shut up.
Tell me about democracy in that time.
How did democracy change from the Stone Age to the Victorian? Don't care.
And do you know what? I don't even have a huge problem with having those discussions. I just don't like when it's forced in. Yeah. If there's a time where you think the kids are really interested in this, and this is a good way to talk about democracy, because that's an important concept to understand. Yeah. Cool. It's just... Yeah.
But it doesn't matter if a 10-year-old cannot make a democratic link throughout history.
No. Of course it doesn't.
Let's go on to the last one. Let's be quick here, because we are coming towards the end of the episode. But there is one more thing. I think it's huge. I think this could have sneaked into macro, but I do think that there's a part of this which really has been intensified, especially since COVID, in my opinion.
Yep.
And that is the digital age. Okay. I think the digital age in general, we can talk about all the positives and the ways that we can use technology to help us. But I think there's two strands to this. And the first one is direct access to your teacher. That I don't think that was ever a thing previously. No. And the idea now that in a lot of schools, luckily not our school, very well managed, and I think every school should be like this, but a lot of schools just have 24/7 access. You could receive an email at 9 p.m. from SLT saying, do this for tomorrow. You could receive an email at 6:30 in the morning from a teacher saying, oh, my son's going to be doing this today. Can you please make sure that you keep an eye on him? Can you please make sure you don't message me, because I'll do my job without you telling me.
And that's not even the worst tier. That's a bad tier, by the way. And if that happens in your school, you just say, no, it's not my working hours. And you absolutely never, ever, ever respond. You might even want to read it, that's fine. It's up to you.
Yeah.
Don't respond to an email at 9 p.m. because then it will just set this precedent. But that's tier 1. Tier 2 is that happens, and also parents have direct access to you as well, and through whatever system your school has, and can just message you at any point in the day. And again, if there's a bad culture in your school, they will expect a reply at a certain point. You just think that's mad. That did not happen before. Back in the macro conversation.
Entitled, isn't it?
Yeah, it's extremely entitled, as if we're just.
Oh, just Would you ever just message your doctor at 6:30 going, excuse me?
Yeah.
That thing you tried, it's not working. No, you'd be on the phone for 10 minutes.
Yeah.
The next day. They have a reception putting you in to not even book you in.
Yeah.
So not only are you talking to someone else, you don't even get to talk to the doctor at the end. It's like, at what point did we become these fools who just, again, just from a parent saying, I'm sorry, my daughter said that this thing happened today and she wasn't happy about it.
Yeah.
All right.
Quick thing, by the way, it's really, really short. I rang 2 dentists yesterday because I got a really bad toothache. Yeah. I'm not signed up to a dentist.
Yeah. So you emailed them. You got direct email access.
I just messaged the dentist. Rang 2 dentists and I explained my situation. Said, I don't think I'm a member. Can I get some sort of NHS membership? Because obviously I am a paying member of this country. And the answer, hilariously, was like, oh no, that was it. I was like, okay, is there a way to get in? No, fully.
I've got a hole in my tooth.
Yeah.
Bye.
That's a shame. Can I get on the list? No. There's no space.
No dentist.
Oh, okay.
Can no get a list.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
So now I've just got a horrible toothache and I don't really know what to do. I'm gonna have to pay private, but
maybe you'll start screaming like River every time you change your nappy.
Yeah, I will do.
Right, last thing then on this, because I think this is LinkedIn, something that has changed a lot, and it's to do with the whole media thing.
Culture.
It's just smartphone usage, and I think why that's changed in the last few years is it used to be when we were at school, there were still mobile phones. Yeah. But it was literally a mobile phone. I could call someone, I could text someone. There might have been some things going on, texting each other, inappropriate things, and there might be bullying or going on, and that's to do with the teachers, blah, blah, blah. But these days, if there's something going on in a WhatsApp group chat, suddenly it's the teacher's problem to try and sort that out. If it's outside of work, no, sorry, it's the parent's job. Don't give your child WhatsApp if they can't handle it. Yeah. And if there's a problem going on, don't come to me. Go to the other parents. It's not. I find it crazy that's even in our jurisdiction.
Yeah, primary school drives me crazy with these things. Secondary school's a different game because they are at the age where they can actually have these things. But primary school drives me insane because it's quite clearly they're very well advertised as being like 13 plus quite often or 11 plus or whatever. Yeah. I'm like, no one at primary school is actually technically supposed to be using these apps. I'm like, so it's never my problem. I'm like, no, they shouldn't. You're choosing to let your kid use that thing. It is absolutely not my problem now if some drama happens outside of school. But it's the thing, isn't it? That's changed a lot over the years. It's just this expectation that we will get involved.
Somehow it's our because they're just children in our class. And I get we do. I don't want anyone to think we don't feel this bond with our children, that we want to help them whenever we can. But there is a line. It is my job to teach them stuff. It's not my job. I don't think, or it shouldn't be at least, to solve issues outside of school on apps you let your children download on phones you buy them.
That we don't let them use in school.
If it was on an iPad in school, my job completely. Yeah, if it's on an internal system, my job.
And the thing is, I say that, I've never said no. I've never once turned down that help. I've always got involved in help, but there is that bit in the back of my head where I'm like, for God's sake.
And again, of course we'll help because we're them kind of people, but that's another thing. It's another string to our bow right now, which it's just adding to our workload relentlessly. So,
and the one last thing with smartphones, and then we'll finish this bit. The worst thing now, and this has changed, and we're talking like 3-4 years now, even from when we started and smartphones were already a problem, is TikTok and Instagram Reels and things, because they are so unfiltered and driven by an algorithm of what you like watching. As soon as a kid gets fed something and they remotely linger on it a bit too long, feeds them more. Yeah. So much inappropriate content on TikTok. I use TikTok and it's horribly inappropriate. I'm an adult and I can filter that content myself. But I often will be scrolling through and I'm thinking through the lens of a kid in my class. I'll be like, do you know what? If some of these videos popped up that are just genuinely vile, like you'll get one I'll get something that's like racist or something, and I'm like, that someone's making a racist joke on a little TikTok video here to get some laughs, hopefully by people that maybe understand the nuance, or they're just being horribly racist. And you think kids can consume that, and they don't have the intelligence, the filter to be like, oh, that's disgusting. That's that's just free media that someone's put on there. And I'm like, kids can watch this stuff, man. Yeah. And it really impacts them.
Yeah, of course it does.
They talk about it at school.
How many children mention Elon Musk or Andrew Tate?
Andrew Tate was a problem.
Or KSI, Logan Paul.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I don't care how influential they are. For adults, if you like them, crack on, mate. Don't bother me. For the way that the people like KSI and Logan Paul pretend that they're marketing to adults when really they're just absolutely rinsing kids' watch time for ad revenue.
It's weird.
And Prime and things like that. But the things they churn out is just adult content.
Yeah, it's not appropriate.
It is disgusting.
Because I have no problem with people, obviously, kids TV, like the kids media exists.
Yeah. And adult TV can exist and adult content can exist. Yeah. But there is a chasm right now on YouTube and TikTok where we have these influencers who are absolutely rinsing child's watch time for ad revenue whilst pretending it's for adults. And they know full well that they are marketing to kids. There's no way Prime is not marketed to children with bright yellow colours.
Under 10 years.
How many adults have drank Prime and gone, oh, that's delicious.
I'll keep buying those.
No, I'll collect the bottles. It's for 12-year-olds. and let's stop pretending it's not. And then when they release their podcasts and things, they're just talking like very inappropriately about adult content, knowing full well that their audience are 12-year-olds.
Yeah.
It's disgusting.
It's dodge. And it seeps its way into school. That's a big change we've seen. Smartphones and their usage, it is becoming a real problem, both in cyberbullying and the things they can access on them so easily now. Oh dear. Do you want to finish with a quick story?
Let's finish. Very quick story. We're about an hour. Yeah, we're going to go. This is a really short story, but it made me laugh so much. So I'm going to tell this story, then we'll wrap it up and we'll go. Okay? Right. So I was talking to one of my friends the other day, came to see Rory. We were having a chat. And they had this story for me that as soon as it happened, they said to their friend, I've got to tell Dylan. I've got to tell Dylan for the podcast. So, a really short one. There was something went on at school, okay, between a few children. And as you know, we've got to contact parents sometimes, depending on what it is. So we just go, okay, we're just going to let the parent know what happened. Cool. After school, we'll go and get the number of the parent. So this teacher went along, got the number for the parent, ready to have a really serious conversation about, well, this did happen today. We blah, 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 blah. Sat down, typed in a number, ring. Person picks up, make me a winner. Teacher put the phone down straight away. Didn't say anything. They thought it was a radio show about to give them money.
What is that on?
Heart FM.
Oh my god.
So the teacher put the phone down, went to their mate and said, I can't call them back.
That's so funny. Do you know what? I love that's happened because I've thought so many times I've listened to the radio thing where I'm like, there's got to be some people who have just coincidentally been listening to this and had a phone call from someone and then shouted it and embarrassed themselves.
Oh, sorry, no, you haven't got the job.
That is...
Wait, so this isn't the radio?
Make me a winner? I'm not a winner?
I haven't won and I don't have the job.
Mate.
No, sorry.
I tell you what, if someone did that to me, if someone answered the phone to me saying, make me a winner, there's no way I would be able to resist the urge to go along with it for a minute.
That'd be horrible.
I'd pretend. I'd be like, yes, well done, you have won.
A child who broke the rules.
This is your teacher speaking here. We speak like this. Apparently, by the way, if you ask people, you can tell
Remember, people don't always watch Hayden.
Oh yeah, if you're not watching, then you're missing out. So I'm making a phone symbol. Okay, if you're not watching, make a phone symbol to your ear right now.
Is it with your small finger and your thumb? That means you're old.
Yeah.
Because you're used to like that kind of flip phone. What kids do now apparently is just flat palm.
Flat palm? I thought they make like a claw.
Well, like same kind of thing.
Yeah, it's like
just where you hold a smartphone.
Phone, yeah. Wow, there we go. Boomers.
Boomers, eh? We're all one now. We're all one eventually.
That's how it works.
That's how it works, boy.
Oh, dear.
At what age will we all vote Tory?
I don't know.
Never. Should we wrap it up?
Oh, got that political.
Whoa. Get that in there. Right, get that right in there.
Don't forget, Rishi does listen.
Yeah,
still a joke.
I think you're doing an absolutely... Stop there.
Terrible job.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, thanks, Rishi.
Guys, thank you so much for listening. Thank you for making it this far, and we'll see you again next time.
Check out our bite-sized episode as well if you haven't already this week. It's really fun. Bye!